And good morning. I'm Frank Spillers, and this is Rural Community Solutions TV. And today we're going to be talking about what is leadership and what is a committed community. So stay with us as we talk about those things and the 5 institutes that you need to use for 2021. Hang with us. We'll see you soon. Picture, if you will, the pure, raw prairie. No wires, no fences, no roads, not even a farmhouse. No sign of civilization. This is what a person saw that was crossing the prairie in a wagon more than 170 years ago. They jumped off the wagon, looked around, and declared, "This is where I want to settle and build a town. A great place to live and a great place to raise my family." So they took a risk. They built a house made out of the land, planted food to eat, and cared for the land. Then they wrote back to their friends where they came from and described the great opportunity and promise that they have found. They invited who they knew to join them in their discovery, people they had a relationship with, and so they came, family by family, and those families invited others they knew who they wanted to live with within that community. The communities grew because the needs of the families grew, so entrepreneurs started businesses to meet those community needs. Ice houses, broom factories, general stores, and many other types of sole proprietor entrepreneurial businesses started up within the community. All of our communities across this country, all around the world, were started in this way, with a vision of the future and a plan to grow with people. So we do have a plan to grow with people, just like your community did when it started. Welcome to Rural Community Solutions TV. I'm Frank Spillers.
And I'm Kim Spillers, and we're so glad that you have joined us this final week of 2020. If you're interested in designing family-friendly, youth-centered places, we have lots of information for you and would love to help that become a reality for your community.
And so in this final week of 2020, what I understand people are going to do on Thursday night is make sure 2020 leaves. They're not welcoming in 2021. They're just saying goodbye to 2020, which is kind of so long, good riddance, adios, so long, farewell. Yeah, I watched Sound of Music. Yeah, we should actually play that song instead of Auld Lang Syne. We should play the Sound of Music. Goodbye, farewell, see you later. All leaders saying, yep. See ya.
Come back Thursday. That is it. But for this week, we have all kinds of fascinating information for you and some real institutes that you can use in your community. We'll introduce you to the concepts that we know will work for you.
And we know this because we have done it. So for over 30 years, Rural Community Solutions has built and helped design family-friendly, youth-centered places. Now, we say that not flippantly. It is what we know. It is what type of environment does your community, does your business, does your family, does your church, does your organization have to create to attract the people that you want. Now, when we work in communities, when things open back up and we can be face to face with communities, because that's what we do. That's where we do it. We are always told that our organizations are losing people. We're not getting the volunteers that we need. Times are changing. Generations change. You have to find what attracts the generation you're trying to attract. And that's what we specialize in. It is one, defining who lives in your community, what tapestry, what characteristics, what personalities do they have? What are their buying habits? Who do they like? Where do they live? Do they own? Do they rent? I mean, those types of characteristics. We help you find those so you know who lives in your community. You need to know how your people are doing, how your quality of place is doing, and how your economy is doing. Before you can even move forward, you have to know where your starting point is. Then you can move forward. It's like starting a business. If you have this business, you have to know your market. And then you can change your market by attracting the market that you want. And so that is your actions, your thought processes, how you create that environment. That's all encompassing of how we create your environment to attract people. We help design family-friendly, youth-centered places that attract families and youth. That was the number one issue that communities have given over the last, 5, 6 years, is we're losing a demographic. You're not losing a brain, you're losing a demographic of age groups, and that's your younger people. How do you attract them back? How do you get them? And so that's designing those family-friendly, youth-centered places that attract people that will help your community, help your business grow. And so we have 5 institutes, and I want to introduce you to those 5 institutes right now, because these 5 institutes are really important steps to take over the course of 2021, 2022, and 2023. We're going to talk about the commitment that it takes to really build your economy back and what we will help you do to build that foundation. But the first institute, and we've talked about this, is that Community Prosperity Institute. How do you create community prosperity? That is creating where you are, where in the demographics, where you are, your starting point, and then helping you create a vision to where you want to be. Now, that's an extremely important part of this process, because, as I said before, you don't know where you're going until you know your starting point. And you don't know where you're going unless you identify the exact location where you want to go. Just like you're taking a trip, if you're planning a trip, you have to plan where you're going to end up. So we're going to help you take a trip. We're going to define where you start and then help you define where you want to end up. And that is that vision, that picture of the future you wish to create. And that's the starting point for community prosperity.
But we also have a full institute that talks about that visioning process. So that'll be later in the week.
And so the Community Prosperity Institute process is this. I don't know where did it go? Where did my sharing process go? All right, I'll stop sharing that, and then I will share this. All right, here we go.
Remember, this is live TV.
Oh, wow. Okay,
no.
We won't do that. Now, those of you on the podcast, we just had a real flicker.
It went flashing. It was so excited.
And so,
all right, so we'll tell you about this.
The Community Prosperity's mission, okay, the purpose of the Community Prosperity Institute is to create a sustained, well-informed, and highly collaborative partnership. Collaboration, we'll talk about that towards the end of the week. What is a collaborative leader? This is how we design that. Okay, but it's a collaborative partnership among governmental, business, private, and nonprofit stakeholders at your local level. Those institutions, those people that are wrapped up into your community as community leaders need to be involved in this. All right, and they address the community challenges and take advantage of promising opportunities. Now, with the Community Prosperity Institute, we help you design some themes around what are your opportunities to create development, your opportunities that you can take to take steps forwards right away that will help you create prosperity in your community. It's not what are your problems, it's what are your opportunities and where can you take those steps to move forward. All right, and so to do that, though, you need a commitment. Your community needs a commitment. So here's what we pretty much require. All right, this is what we require. This is to give you that foundation that your community will be more successful in doing this, is to follow these 10 commitment steps. Now, commitment to me, here's my definition of commitment. When you are interested in doing something, you're going to do what's convenient. In other words, you're going to kind of take the easy way out. That's if you're interested. And many communities we start with are interested in moving forward. Yeah, I'm interested in growing our population. Yes, I'm interested in reducing poverty. Yes, I'm interested in getting people involved. Yes, I'm interested in attracting a volunteer base. They say they're committed, but they're taking steps as they're interested because they're going to do whatever is convenient. Now, to do what's committed, if you are committed, you're going to do whatever it takes. So if you look at your past trends and you're not where you want to be and the trend lines are not doing what you want to do, you're not committed. You are just interested. To be committed, you need to commit to this. Commit to grouping, right, and defining your community. And your definition of community is going to be a region. So you need to define that region. You need to define where your commuters are coming from at that, okay? So you're going to define that. Then when you define that, you're going to have to change the economic development philosophy from recruiting companies to attracting, welcoming, and integrating a diversity of people. Diversity. Remember that word because that's going to be an important one. And the second step is,
what else you need to do is you need to adopt civility resolutions at your city, county, and school boards. When you're committed, it, as Frank said, it does mean that you need to do things differently. Historically, we just do what our predecessors have done. We do what's always been done. It's always been done that way. Probably you've heard that at some organizational level or worship community, something like that. That is the way we're getting stuck. And so adopting civility resolutions is one way to attract a new group of that diversity of people.
And civility is different ways of doing things. I mean, to create civility in a community is hard work, and we help you do that. We define that for you and take steps of how you do that. You also need strong telecommunications support and access with the participation of your internet providers. That means whoever brings internet into your community through broadband needs to be supportive of this process and committed to the process, committed to do whatever it takes to create this type of community prosperity.
The next thing that we encourage you to do is to change from a top-down decision-making platform approach and use participatory, community-driven, bottoms-up engagement. The more people you have involved, the more successful your community ventures are going to be, and more quickly.
So it's not you or leaders standing giving edicts from the top on down. It is creating decisions from the community and up, listening, having your leaders listen to the community and to the region, and then creating those policies. It's also recruiting 3 of your larger businesses. And when I say they're not recruiting businesses, it's recruiting the businesses that are already there, the 3 largest businesses willing to implement this community process within their company, because it takes that environment, it takes the mindset of everybody and influencing those employees to create this mindset, and the businesses that within that region, and the larger the businesses, that really creates an environment of civility and how this process really works.
So what happens is that when you get a group of people who are trained in a new way of thinking, then the theory, the belief the action is that then that network among their family members, among their friends, among their business connections, that all filters out much more quickly when you have a larger group of people who are involved and knowledgeable about what is taking place. The benefit to that is our next point, is that we grow population and we reduce poverty in that region. Those are two huge things that are impacting rural America. And we know that these processes, these institutes will impact that to grow your population and to reduce your poverty. And that makes a better economy for everyone.
Also, to have your school districts involved. Now, if we're taking a region, if we're taking that region of commuting patterns, you might have 3 or 4 or more school districts that need to be involved in this. So you need to get your school districts involved and then have staff development, professional development within your school district of the leadership and the philosophy of creating civility and creating community prosperity. Also with your students are extremely important because the youth need to be involved in this. And so having the schools definitely involved in this are extremely important, because when a person chooses your community, they look at the schools first for their youth.
Another important, even critical component is to have your healthcare system and your hospital involved in this. Often in rural America, the schools and the healthcare system, and then likely the county government, those are often 3 top employers. And to have those people all trained in different levels of staff development is also going to spread that network of people in new ways of thinking and new mindsets, so that the community starts to see shifts much more quickly.
Now, here's really the kicker on this. This has to be one of the top commitments of that. You have to commit to at least a minimum of 3 to 5 years process for culture change, because you need that of how it takes, how you try to change a habit. We're trying to change a culture and change the culture habits of people that live there all the time. Because 150, 200 years ago, when your community was started, somebody jumped off that wagon and created a culture by inviting like-minded people to that community. And then they acted the same. So your culture really has transformed over the course of 150 to 200 years, depending upon how old your community is. You have created a community culture. So it's going to take a commitment for this process of over and over and over and repeat, and bringing new people into the process to help them understand that we are changing their culture. And finally,
I'm going to put just a quick little tag on that, is that we're not asking you, if around here, for example, this is a Danish-based area here in Southwest Iowa. We're not asking people to give up their traditions or their festivals or anything like that. We're not talking about changing a culture that way. We're talking about changing a mindset, so that people become more inclusive of new ideas and new people. So just keep that in mind, that we're not after a culture shift that may come to mind for you, but that mindset shift is the commitment that we are after, so that we are more inclusive of people and new ideas.
And finally, you need that willingness to develop a cooperative and collaborative community environment. And every step that we take creates that type of environment. And so we're introducing you to our 5 institute design process that takes you annually through this process to change your culture, change your environment that attracts people and attracts families and creates that family-friendly, youth-centered place that you so long for. So when you take these 5 institutes and you move them through a collaborative leadership organization, that can be a community foundation, that can be your economic development organization, that can be any local group of individuals that go through that commitment process, that will help us and create the environment that will design your family-friendly center place. It also is a process that engages your youth, creates opportunity for youth, and then helps create those youth entrepreneurs that will stay within your community to help you build your environment. The first institute that you really need to do is the Small Community Leadership Institute. That is an institute that helps you create a communifier. We introduced that concept last week of what is a communifier? A communifier is one that is committed. There's that word again, committed to unify a community. Now, how you define that community can be that region, but it is a committed individual, a committed group of individuals that are spark plugs that are committed to unify your community. That's a communifier. And that's how we start to design that small community leadership. Now, the small community leadership is a process. It's a 24-hour, what did I say?
The Institute. It's not that you didn't say it, it's just make sure that, especially for people on the podcast, we're talking about our first institute is the Small Community Leadership Institute. And that is a 24-hour classroom
experience. That's right. That's the Small Community Leadership Institute for Collaborative Relationships is a 24-hour classroom experience. We take up to 25 community members. Now, these 25 community members can be the traditional leaders, all right? But now we will say only half of the 25. So 12.5, and I pity that 0.5 person, okay? Anyway, so we take that 25 individuals and we walk them through our relationship building curriculum. We call it the BWUCA way, to welcome, understand, comfort, and appreciate yourself. It's the art of getting along. It is creating the environment one person at a time. It is challenging them and creating them to how do we act? What words do we use? How do we listen? How do we create that entrepreneurial spirit within our community? And how do entrepreneurs think? And how do we create collaboration in our community? How is that thinking done? And that class can be a noon to noon. It can be spread out over the course of a period of months. But we strongly encourage, and it's a committed community that does this, to do this on an annual basis. This is your leadership group. Now, leadership, as we define it, is not a leadership class of finding the resources that are in your community, visiting state agencies, visiting county government, visiting your city government. It's not those types of resources. That is important that you have that knowledge, and that is wrapped into this class, but that isn't the basis of the class. We're talking more about how do you treat people. It's the environment that you set. Now, in some of the, in a research design project that is going on for 20 years in the community of Ord, Nebraska, this was one of their top priorities that they found, that their top findings that they found that creates a engaged community. And Ord, Nebraska, we will talk about this over the course of the week, because Ord has really done some of these things, not through our institutes, but they have done some of these things as kind of a trial and error type of thing. But these are the findings, and the top of the finding is leadership and community engagement. The type of leadership it has not been, how do we run a meeting? The type of leadership is, how do we treat people? How are people treated, and how do we work with people to create our process, to create the unification that we need to do to come together? Now, that also includes, the class also includes your frontline people, such as from convenience stores, your hospitality industry, so restaurants, motels, hotels, that service industry sector, those folks that meet and greet the public first before they make it even into your community. Because as we travel, we will stop to convenience stores, and we have told the story before, and Kim has told the story before, of stopping at convenience stores.
So frequently we do that, and I mean, you stop for gas, of course, or get a snack or whatever. And so we ask. It's usually me who goes up and talks to the checkout person, and just ask, "What's going on around here? What's it like to live here? Tell me something about this community." And it is very interesting to hear the responses that we get. All the way from, "Oh my gosh, I love it here. I am so excited to be a member of this community." That's what you want people to hear who stop at your counters. But often you will also hear that people can't wait to get out. One very vivid time we heard that a woman had been displaced by Katrina halfway across the country. And at 10 years, she still had not been able to return to her home. And she was distressed, but that was the story that she told to us. And so you want to make sure, that's why it's really important that your restaurant people, all of the people that visitors are going to meet, are all in this same mindset, that they are all trained. The other thing that does is helps to unify a community when you have the kind of more blue collar workers on the same plane as white collar workers, and the kind of usual suspects we were referencing earlier, your community leaders. Everybody's in this together. Everybody has a place in their community's development. So that's what we do, is we have that class involve a wide number of people who represent your community.
Now, we had a comment, and I'd like to show this comment because this is a typical question that we get from our communities. And so, Mark, I'd like to show your comment on that. That Mark says, when we created a committee to head up the branding of Atlantic, and he's talking about Atlantic, Iowa, where we live, we made a quest. And Mark used to sit on the city council. He's a great city council person. And he moved to Florida, so sorry about that. But he does come back every once in a while. But Mark goes on to say that we made a quest to make the group up from people who had never served on any community project. And then he goes on to say that's great to do, but hard to get people to respond to. So we have had this thrown at us all the time. And I'm going to tell you how you get people to respond to that. And it takes a commitment. Remember the commitment. You do whatever it takes. It takes a commitment from the business sector to send those frontline people to the training and pay them. You have to give them that wage. I'm sorry, but they're the low wage individuals anyway. They're probably minimum wage at best, maybe on to, they're the average wage. They're a low wage individual. We've owned a restaurant. We know what we paid our folks. I'm ashamed to say it, but we had to pay them the market rate of what everybody else in the community was paying. And we paid them a little bit more because of what we know. However, we wanted, when we work with these in this class, it takes a commitment by those business sectors, and it's an investment to the business, because when your frontline people are trained, one, they treat their customers better because they understand the philosophy of how to create that environment that is welcoming, that will attract people. So they treat your customers better. So this is really a customer service session for them also. But then they also then are committed to your business. They are committed to treating people better, and it creates a better environment. So it's an investment of the future to send that front line. So paying the people to help support them to be there for the class might cost you in the short run, but a return on investment is huge for your business. So that's how we get people that are enticed. Yes, It's not a volunteer type because maybe some of those can't afford to volunteer because they're working 2 or 3 different jobs. They have no time. But if it's incorporated within their job to come to the class and they are paid, they will then see a payoff in the future for that.
And in the bigger concept, it is raising human dignity, worth, and value. Often, I think that's why people don't respond, Mark. Keeping up with your comment there, is that people don't feel like their opinion, their ideas are valued. And so that is one of the long-term benefits. You may get short-term economic impact from that, but the bigger impact is that people feel like they matter. And that is of tremendous value in a community.
So come back all week at 11:30 a.m. Central Time. We're going to walk through our institutes of community prosperity. And how do you get community prosperity? It is a commitment that you need. It should be your community, your business New Year's resolution. We're going to talk about New Year's resolutions on Thursday, in fact, because most people don't do those anymore. But you need to get your community leaders together. You need to get that committed group, that spark plug collaborative leadership group together to start making a commitment to start 2021 as community prosperity, to help you restart, renew, recover, and build resiliency into your community for 2021 that will bring prosperity to you. As we recover from the COVID crisis, we need to start doing this. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about creating a community, an engaged community that listens more to what is being said rather than not listening to what is being said. Okay. How do you listen to the community? There's a process, there's an art to that. And that is our community engagement, our small community engagement institute that will help you really bring the policy. Because if you think about it, we have your relationships that you're building is our small community engagement institute. The engagement, a small community engagement institute is how do you listen to your community? When you build relationships and you listen to your community, you're building a trust value, a value of trust to help support that. So relationships and engagement build trust. So we're going to be talking about our small community engagement institute tomorrow of how you can listen. So come on back at 11:30 a.m. Central Time tomorrow to talk about community engagement.
You can find us on YouTube or on Facebook at Rural Community Solutions. And after the show, you could listen to us on the podcast, and you go to anchor.fm/Frank Spillers and you look for Think Like an Entrepreneur, Become a Spark Plug.
So we hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, please share it. Hit your share button. Share it with your network of individuals. Share it around your community. Share it with some people. Get them together and start talking about what's going to be happening in 2021. It's an important question. Where's our leadership? Where's our community going? What is prosperity and how do we get there? Whether you're in a rural community or a business, this is your chance to create a better 2021 that's looking towards the future, not looking at what we started before the pandemic came in here. So let's rebuild, let's restart, and let's build back some of that resiliency that we can do. So I'm Frank Spillers.
And I'm Kim Spillers. We're excited for 2021 for you. And so we look forward to seeing you all week long. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, have a great week, and we will see you all week long as we go into 2021. So this has been Rural Community Solutions TV live stream on our YouTube channel, Rural Community Solutions on our Facebook page. We hope you have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.